Cable news has had wall-to-wall coverage of the impeachment inquiry, and we've all seen the Twitter takes, but is America actually paying attention to it all? According to data from the Nielsen Media Research, the public is starting to tune out.
Day 3 of impeachment inquiry hearings, which featured Lieutenant Colonel Vindman and former Ukraine Special Envoy Volker's testimony, 12 million viewers watched, but viewership dropped by 700,000 people compared to Day 2 and decreased 1.8 million from the first day of testimony. The Hill's media columnist Joe Concha has been following the trends closely, and he joins us now via Skype to analyze all those numbers. Joe, great to see you.
I know you. Who's that guy next to you?
How you doing, Joe? Good to see you, man.
Great to see you. All right, so what do we know? How wrapped is the public up in these hearings?
I think when you throw out numbers in these situations, guys, you always got to provide context, right? Because who knows, is 13.8 million on the first day, is that good? I think it is, maybe. But then I look back at Jim Comey and his testimony to the Senate Intelligence Committee in 2017 in May after he was fired, and 20 million people tuned in for that.
Wow.
I look at Michael Cohen in February of just this year, Michael Cohen, 15.8 million. So I use that kind of as a comparison, or just on ABC. Donald Trump Jr. pushing a book for an hour, getting yelled at by 5 people, got 3 million people watching on ABC, but for impeachment, they can't get to 2 million. So when you put it in that sort of context, and when you look at the numbers from day one, Crystal and Sager, where you're at nearly 14 million, and then just the last ratings that came in for Tuesday, you're barely above 11 million, that shows me that people are steadily tuning out, and therefore that apathy is not good news for Democrats.
Yeah, that is a stunning number, that, you know, the Michael Cohen one in particular, and then the James Comey from a 20 million drop now to what, like 2 million. That is, I mean, that's what more people watch, like network broadcast shows, than they are who are watching these impeachment hearings. Could you put it in context of Watergate? Do we know what those numbers were back in the 1970s? Because that's what Democrats love to try and draw a comparison of. And if we put the numbers next to each other, I just don't see it.
Sure. Well, it's an unfair comparison. You guys are young, but I was actually barely alive for Watergate. And at that time, there were basically 3 networks that you could watch at your home, right? No cable whatsoever, ABC, NBC, CBS. And the amazing number from Gallup is that 71% of the country had watched impeachment hearings at some point on television in 1974. That is just a stunning number. So just to put that in comparison, more than 7 in 10 in 1974. If you look at the numbers where, say, 13 million, 12 million are tuning in now, that's less than 5% of the country. And I get that you're also watching on your phone or you're just following on Twitter, so we can't quite calculate that. But the interest overall, again, is not what I think Democrats were hoping for. And any good series, for lack of a better term, because this is like a reality show, the numbers steadily go up as the show gets better. In this case, it went down. And now that basically hearings are over, at least in the House, I think then they're going to vote on impeachment. He'll probably get impeached, and then he'll be acquitted in the Senate, that being President Trump. And with the exception of maybe, Mitt Romney and Pierre Delecto, and they only count as 1 vote, I don't see any.
Well, I mean, actually, they're thinking of going back into the Mueller report stuff, trying to get Don McGahn in at least to testify, and others. So apparently, House Democrats haven't gotten enough, even if the American public kind of has.
Yeah, I think the Mueller report, again, we're just exhausted at this point. There is news fatigue, right? I mean, this has been 3 years of either the Russia investigation, which was the big show. Think of it as Caddyshack. And then you have Ukraine and the impeachment, and that's Caddyshack too. And you never, ever, Crystal, want to watch Caddyshack too. So I think at this point, if they go back into Mueller report's out, right? We've read it all. And as long as there isn't collusion between Trump and Russia, I don't know what we're talking about at this point.
I mean, Washington Post is selling the graphic novel version of the Mueller report, so I think maybe that got people back excited about it, Sagar.
Yeah, they need to gin up their ratings and their clicks again, right, Joe? Because I mean, this is ultimately, but at the same time, it's a shrinking base. I mean, we've seen MSNBC in particular take a huge hit after the Russia investigation, and they're probably poised for another one after this, right?
Yes, MSNBC, particularly Rachel Maddow's show, because her show primarily focused on Russia and that investigation. And, we hear a lot about conspiracy theorists, and she threw out a lot of, for lack of a better term, reporting that never panned out. But, she lost about 40% of her audience. CNN took an even bigger hit as well. When you put all your chips on the table, guys, and you focus on one story, it's kind of like working for 2 years and then the public the people watching you, they don't get a paycheck. And a lot of them just said, I'm exhausted, I'm done, I didn't get what I wanted, I didn't get what I was promised, and they go elsewhere. Fortunately for all these networks, there is the 2020 election that'll be in full swing, starting basically with the Iowa caucuses in February. But as we're seeing even there, on Wednesday night for the debate on MSNBC, only 6.5 million people tune in. Again, context. Donald Trump's first debate, that got 25 million. The first debate of this election season among Democrats got 18 million on NBC. Now they're down to a little over 6. That means 2/3 of the audience gone. Where are they going? They're exhausted.
Yeah,
so maybe 2020 gives them a reprieve, but I think until we get to the general and we have a one-on-one situation, I think people just want to go watch, I don't know, Dancing with the Stars minus Sean Spicer.
And do we have numbers yet for the day that Sondland testified? Because that was considered the most significant, the sort of most explosive testimony. Do we have any sense of how that went? It was, of course, was it the same day as the debate? Gosh, this week has been too crazy.
No. It was the day after.
Yeah.
Or the day before.
It's hard to track, right?
No, it was the day of.
I don't remember anymore.
My brain is mush. Anyway, do we have any indication of how many people watched that day or how much energy there was around that?
Yeah, I thought maybe, okay, well, that of the 4 or 5 days that we saw, that obviously was the most dramatic. But it went 13.8 million first day, 12.7 million the second day, 12 million the third day, 11.4 million the fourth. So when Sondland had testified, if I'm doing my math right, I believe that it still dropped from the previous day.
Wow.
So, again, maybe people were more engaged on Twitter and online and other things that we can't gauge quite as well. But yeah, I think in the end, people just... CBS did a great poll, guys, and it was that this was just last week. Only 1 in 5 people polled, 20%, understand the Ukraine story.
Yeah.
Just understand. So when you put out Silent, right, and you put out Fiona Hill, no one knows who these characters are in this movie. Right. And then they try to relate it back to the ultimate crime, right, the payoff, and that is what? That President Trump had promised a meeting to Ukrainian President Zelensky in exchange for announcing an investigation around the Bidens. Is that enough to remove a president? A lot of Americans are asking. And with only 347 days until election, I think the answer is no.
Yeah, well said, Joe. Really appreciate it, man.
All right, guys, good to see you again.
Good
night,
to
everybody.
see you
Thanks,
See you, Joe. All right, next on Rising, one product that can claim to be from the U.S., even though virtually none of it was created here, is beef.
We're going to tell you how this can impact food safety and worker standards. That's next.